What is up, my friends? I am Mumfy. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining. Today's going to be a big one for the Tacoma. And if you followed me over on my Instagram page, you kind of have a heads up as to what it is that I am going to be doing as this install for today. Now, we will be installing some giant bullhorns. No. That is a front bumper. Let's unbox this thing and get into it. All right, my friends, here it is. This has been 8 months coming since I put in the order for this front bumper. And that just goes to show just how backed up a lot of these companies are. They're either getting a lot of orders or the materials are back ordered, causing delays and things like that. I actually have another big modification for the Tacoma that has also been delayed quite a bit. But finally I have my front bumper. This is from Southern Style Off-Road and it is the slimline full plate bumper. I'm really excited to get this on the Tacoma. So let's get this thing unwrapped and I'll show you the configuration that I went with. Alright, there it is in all of its glory. A couple of prep things I need to do before we actually get this installed. We're going to tape off the front bumper and I'm going to remove my Heretic 30-inch light bar to fit in the front of it. But I'll have to do that after I make my cuts. So, let's start measuring. Alright, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take some 1-inch painter's tape and we're going to tape off where we're going to need to make our cuts on the front bumper. What we're going to do is we're actually going to measure across the front. We're going to follow this crease line all the way across. And we're also going to follow it down along the side here. So what we'll be doing is we'll be cutting on this side of the tape, and if you need, make sure that you have a marker of some sort so that way you can set yourself reminders on which side you're going to be cutting. So this is going to be our first cut, and then we'll come back for part 2, which will be along the sides here. Alright, now the best and biggest tip that I'm going to give you guys is to measure as many times as you need to feel comfortable with this before you start cutting. Now, like I said, I've kind of marked where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to be cutting on the vehicle side, not the front end side, and we're just going to follow along here. I've got an oscillating tool. You can use a Dremel if you want to, a circular Dremel. I'm going to give this a shot. Alright, now this won't actually release fully. There's a couple of bolts up underneath still holding this section on. So we'll unbolt those and this whole front section should come off. And then what we can do is we can clean up our edges before we start making our secondary cut. As I was saying before, you're able to take this section off that you just cut. You have a couple of bolts. If you have the TRD skid plate, you're going to need to loosen up the bolts on the skid plate in order to access these. And these are two 10mm bolts that are holding this in. Now that we have this off, we can work on measuring for our second cuts. Alright, so next up what we're going to do is we're going to do a measurement or a tape line. We're going to do a tape line from this corner here where these two pieces meet. And we're going to line that up along this top crease here. So we're going to make sure that we have a straight line from the top of that crease all the way across. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a measuring point for our dimensions down here. Now, because it is an angle cut, we're going to measure these points, and then we'll line up our tape to make that cut. We're going to have to measure along here, and we're going to butt up against this the faux plastic here and come down along this crease 2 inches. So get your measuring tape. We're going to butt that up against the corner and measure 2 inches. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us our starting point, because we're not going to trim along this edge here. We're actually going to drop down and give us a little bit of a lip. This 2 inches should give us that relief along here, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our edge trim, and we'll need a little bit of a lip along here for that to push up along against. Alright, I've gone ahead and taped off everything for our secondary cut line. Remember, I did my 2-inch mark here, and this top tape line is your starting measure point. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up our tape along with the edge of the fog light here. There's another crease here that we'll do another measurement, and then this one here is really faint on the bumper, but we are going to be measuring down there. And then you have kind of a secure pin and then an actual bolt in the fender wall. What you'll do is you'll measure down 2 inches from the center of the bolt for your fender mark. Then what you'll do is measure from the top of the line here, and this measurement is 9 inches, and you'll make a mark. The next one from, again, the top of the tape line, you're going to come down 8 3/8 inches, make a mark, and then your next one is 7 7/8 from the top of your tape line. Not the top of my verticals, but the horizontal. Then you'll take your tape and just make sure that the top lines up and hits all of your marks and line up with your 2-inch mark that you made down here. Now we are making sure that we leave a lip so that our weather stripping has a place to hook onto. So we will be cutting on the top. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I know which side to cut, so that way there's no confusion. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and duplicate this on the driver's side. Now our most important cut is actually going to be along the fender, simply because the edge trim is not going to cover our fender cut. The rest of this can have slight variations. The edge trim is going to cover most of that up, but we definitely want to make sure that we're cutting these as clean as possible. So here we go. This section is still attached. There's a bolt underneath here that we'll remove, and this whole section should drop out now. Alright, now that we've got this section off, we're going to cut the driver's side. Alright, next up what we'll do is I went ahead and removed this. All it is held on by some push tabs throughout here. It just gives us access to the crash bar. Once we're done with this, I'm going to take my file and I'm going to clean up my cut edges here, just so I don't have kind of this rough edge, and that the edge trim will actually adhere a lot better. It'll just snap in a lot better. Alright, so next what we got to do is take off the crash bar. I have my Hairtic 30-inch light bar mounting bracket attached to the 2 outside bolts on the crash bar. The other thing we'll need to do is detach the plastics from this cross member here. This is riveted into the crash bar, so I'll just go ahead and pop maybe, there we go. So it's just a little push tab. We just want to be able to clear these plastics so we can get to the two 14mm bolts back here holding the crash bar in. Now there is also one on the inside as well. So there's 3 bolts per side that we'll need to remove so that way we can get this crash bar off. Alright, now I had an extra step of me having to remove my Heretic 30-inch light bar. If you don't have a light bar for the hidden aspect of it, you won't need to worry about removing those brackets, but alright, with a little bit of yanking, a lot of it is, for me, it was because of this top bolt position here. But now that we've got this removed, we should be almost ready to put the bumper on. Next up, we're going to be removing my Demon brackets because we'll be utilizing the mounting point underneath here as a mounting point for the front bumper. Along with the bumper that ships with you, you'll actually get a length of edge trim. So we'll put that on now. Plus you'll also get some added hardware. Now, the bolts that we took off that were housing the Demon brackets, we are going to replace them with the hardware that Southern Style Off-Road provides. Now, as I stated earlier, we aren't going to be running edge trim on the fender flare. It's going to start right here on the bumper, and we're just going to push that up on there. Make sure we got it set real nice. Alright, now we're getting the Heretic 30-inch light bar installed. You may need to go with longer bolts in order to get it attached. I do like that Southern Style Off-Road offers kind of the mounting locations that are up under here. I'm going to go ahead and throw the bolts on, work on getting it centered. Now would be the time to mount your winch. I don't have one right now, so I'm going to have another adventure of taking off my bumper, putting the winch on, and then reinstalling the whole thing. But right now, we're good to go. Alright, got the plastics all trimmed up. Everything that needs to be off is off. Light bar is installed. Once again, I don't have a winch. That'll be a later project, but it's time to mount up the front bumper. Now, with a friend, because this is very heavy, it's got the mounting points that'll go straight to the old crash bar mounts. Once you have that on, you can kind of let go, and those bolts will hold it in place. What we're going to do is we'll come in through the access holes that I have drilled out, and we'll tighten up the bolts to put those on. You can kind of, there's still access underneath to get to the two outside, but the inside one, having these cutouts really helps, so you can tighten that down. There we go. I'm going to throw the nuts on, and we should be wrapping up this install. Alright, we finally got the mounting bolts all hooked up on the old crash bar mounts. There's one other place you are attaching the bumper to, and that's going to be where we took off the Demon brackets. So you're going to replace the old bolts with what comes in the hardware with SSO, Southern Style Off-Road, and that's your fourth mounting point on both sides. So you have the 3 bolts up underneath on the crash bar mount, and then you have this one here. As you can see, it actually clears the TRD skid plate really well, and it houses the Heretic light bar really nice. Now, if you are looking at doing this bumper, they do have a couple of different cutout options. They've got one for Baja. This is the Heiss. And then they've got another one, I can't remember off the top of my head. I went with the Heiss. I actually contacted Heretic to find out what they suggested as the dimensions for their cutout, for their light bar. And they said, go with the Heiss, and as you can see, it actually houses it really nicely. Alright, now there are additional options that you can throw onto your order. This is one of them. This is a winch access hole cover from Southern Style Off-Road. Now these are 3D printed, and they are 3 parts. You can actually remove each of these sections into 3 parts, so you can really kind of customize the look that you want. Now where these go are right down here on your winch access hole cutout, if this is something that you ordered. What I found easiest, I'm actually going to leave the centerpiece out, and how I've found to install this is to do it in 2 stages. This outer piece is pretty flexible, so you're able to just kind of snap that in, and then this section here, you can slide it in and then line it up, and you can pull it right into place. Just do some minor adjustments there. Now they do say that this is kind of a white color. It actually is a bit more gray, that is a little closer to my cement color. You can paint it if you'd like. They also offer this in a full black. I kind of like this little accent color. And like I said, I'm going to leave this centerpiece out for now because I'd still like to have access to when I actually add a winch back in here. So I'll still be able to have access to that, and I can pop these out if I need just a little bit more hand room. Now I'm going to add on my D-rings, and this install is complete. Alright my friends, that's going to wrap it up for this install on the Southern Style Off-Road Slimline full plate bumper. Couple of tips to go over real quick. Golden rule, measure twice, cut once, so you're able to get those cuts where they need to be. The other thing is to take your time while cutting. Now, just a couple of other quick things. This is a metal fabricated bumper going up against a plastic front bumper, so you may not have perfect fitment when you go to mount the bumper onto its mounts. Just be prepared for that. It's kind of what I ran into, but I am overall happy with the way that it turned out. Now, I do like the fact that I now have more ground clearance up front. I'm also protected with this full plate. They do offer a tube style if that's a look that you're going for. I do like having the light bar up in the front bumper, and you can also add this bull bar if you'd like. You can have it flush without it, and without all these cutouts, if that's a way you want to go. It's really cool the way that they allow you to kind of customize what your front bumper is going to look like. Now, I will leave a link to where you can order this for yourself in the description box below. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about the Southern Style Off-Road Slimline bumper. Is there a bumper that you're actually looking at? Let me know what you're going to go with for your Tacoma in the comment section below. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. If you haven't already, consider subscribing for more of these install videos that I have coming down the line. And, as always, we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.